Family. So in this video, I want to explain when you should feel comfortable calling yourself an herbalist, or what makes you an herbalist, or what separates you as an herbalist. When are you ready? And so the first thing I want to say is that there is no kind of checklist that you need to go through before you decide to call yourself an herbalist. What I find is the people who ask this usually is because they don't have full confidence yet in what they're doing. And you have to understand that there is different levels of expertise. And so you can be a beginner herbalist. You don't have to necessarily have a body that also certifies you, because in the world, that's the way we go into professions. We decide that we want to study something. We may study it, in high school as AP classes, so the college level classes. Then you go and get a degree, and then you have a piece of paper that certifies you that says you have this level of expertise, and now you can go into this career. And so with herbs, it's totally different. I would even venture to say that reading the most books or even knowing the most information doesn't necessarily make you the best herbalist. It doesn't kind of translate in that way, because herbalism is something that is so different from person to person and experience to experience. And there's a lot of times when things should work a certain way on paper and then they don't. And that's what you find a lot of times, that science will say, you shouldn't use a certain herb or whatever. But you'll look at the traditional use of different herbs and you'll see that it's used for this purpose. Or you would think that based on some rules, you would think that an herb shouldn't be used, but instead the person uses it and they actually have a beneficial result. And so I think that's the first part of needing someone's approval, somebody to, officiate you or to certify you. And herbalism is unregulated, so you're just not going to have that. And so, what do you go on? I don't think knowing all the different herbal actions makes you an herbalist, or just knowing a certain amount of herbs makes you an herbalist. Uh, I think as herbalists, we really have to kind of go on our intuition. If this is our purpose and our passion, and we're noticing that we are working more with herbs more regularly, and that this has branched into something like, oh, this is cool, or this is interesting, into this is something that you now embody. I think there's a difference there. And that's how you know when you've kind of crossed over and into the herbal world. And then the other part of this is that simply because you take herbs internally, whether it's a tea, tincture, extract, that doesn't necessarily make you an herbalist. There's many people that may go into like a Walgreens, or one of those drugstores on the corner, and they may go in and they may see, oh, immune support, and it has different herbs listed on there, and they pick it up and they start using it. It doesn't necessarily make you an herbalist. Whereas even if you are one who just loves to maybe use herbs for cooking, and you don't use the teas and tinctures and the medicinal formulas like that, that doesn't take away from your ability as an herbalist either. And so it's just kind of hard to go by some of the definitions that they have. Like for what herbalism is, they say is the therapeutic use of plants. But there's plenty of people who just may add essential oils in just because they like the smell of it or whatever, but not necessarily for a medicinal purpose. And so we kind of have to get out of the rules, and I like to say the linear thinking. And it's going to be different for everybody, and it's going to look different for everybody. And your journey should look different from somebody else. If your journey is just following and modeling after someone else, then I don't know that you stepped into that purpose or passion just quite yet. And so you just got to kind of be mindful of these things. And there's a total relearning that happens as an herbalist, because it's totally different than any other field. And so you have to think about the fact that herbalism is not even accepted as a form of medicine, even though it was the first. And so you have so many different barriers of things that you can't say nowadays, that was just, it was common to be known as a healer. But now we can't use heal, we can't use cure, we can't use these things, even though these things happen. And so when do you call yourself an herbalist? It's kind of the same way. It's more of the thinking of someone giving you an accolade, giving you praise, or seeing you as worthy. And it's when do you see yourself as worthy? And I say it's a relationship between you and you. It's a relationship between you and the plant, of course. And for me and the creator. And so when people ask me, um, are you certified, or what's the other one? Are you a certified master herbalist? I'm like, The entities that certified me, yeah, that's number one. That's a given. That's where it comes from. That's who's giving me my knowledge. Yah certifies me. The plant certified me. And that's all. That's it. That's literally all you need. And so for those who may feel like, oh, they're not smart enough, it's too difficult, or maybe they even feel like, this is something that I should have learned a long time ago. I'm too old. Now, there's so many different excuses that we use seeking this validation. And herbalists, young and old, rich and poor. You don't need any of those things. You don't need a apothecary with 100 herbs to call yourself an herbalist. You don't need 100 books to call yourself an herbalist. You don't need to know 100 herbs to call yourself an herbalist. And so only that's a decision between you, and you'll know when you're ready. But you got to really trust yourself. You got to trust the plants. And for me, trust in the creator. And he's, given me more knowledge than I could ever find in a book. Right? So I hope this video was helpful for you. If it was, let me know down below, and I will see you guys in the next one.